sports! Hey folks, it's sports season, and you know what that means? It's time for sports ball, where sports players will kick the baseball through the uprights and score 50 points for the home team. And no. I gotta stop. I'm not fooling anyone. I can't pretend that I don't love sports. Look at me. I mean, if you're not a board game enthusiast, how did you find this video? You may be surprised to know that board game hobbyists usually like sports. The concept of sports games is nothing new. Any dull college union space will have a foosball table, but are there actually good ones? As a big-time sumo fan, I'm dying to play some Kabuto Sumo, although Allplay won't send me a review copy for some reason. Baseball is one of the most popular in the board game community, as it best mirrors the number crunching and min-maxing of our games. And one day, I'll do a review of Baseball Highlights 2045 and how it's one of the greatest games ever made. But soccer games? Soccer games are a different story. I'm sorry if this is a hot take, but foosball is just not fun. The dexterity and handling spinners doesn't translate into anything relatable about what I love about soccer. It feels much closer to a significantly less fun air hockey. I'm in the minority though, as more and more board games about soccer seem to be popping up with more physically moving pieces that involve precision and aim with your fingers. And that feels more adjacent to tiddlywinks than a World Cup match. I want something that maybe sacrifices real time for maybe something more methodical, where maybe I can plan out and execute my ideas, build up a team, and call plays at pivotal moments. And my goodness, I think we've wasted enough time. Let's talk about Magic number 11. Designed by Bongwon Ju of Pluto Games, Magic number 11 is a two-player game simulating the wonderful world of soccer. It has been gaining a lot of traction outside of the country, between getting critical praise, being front page news on Board Game Geek, and selling out at Essen almost immediately. As you'll get to know me, you'll learn how much I enjoy when designers have respect for your space. This game is so much larger than this very modest box implies. As mentioned, the board comes in 3 pieces. You'll be filling in the shoes of the 2 most famous teams in sports history. The infamous home team versus the immortal away team, fighting off in never-ending combat. Both teams start equal, with symmetrical players, including defenders, midfielders, and the hyper-aggressive forwards. Don't get comfortable, because we also have recruiting to do. A third deck of cards, the Star Players, are set up as both teams will draft various players who take the timid specialties of the default ones and crank them up to 11. Right out of the gates, you're met with some excellent decisions to make. When your opponent recruits one of the most hyper-aggressive characters in the game, how are you going to respond? Are you going to try to stop him with a more defensive choice? Or will you rather just meet him eye to eye with another super shoot-happy, shoot-crazy, happy-go-lucky, aggro, shot-crazy madman? I don't know. I'm actually really terrible at this game. You're not going to be able to get everything you want. No matter what, you are going to be lacking in certain areas, and your opponent likely knows that. So what are you going to choose to excel in? Aggression? Defense? Control? Again, I'm really bad at this game. With 13 players on your team, you choose 10 for your main team. You put 3 in for substitutions later in the game. And you're ready to hit the field. You're going to be spending turns getting your players lined up perfectly in place, arranging halves of symbols so they align those on the boards or other cards. These symbols can help gain control of the game's momentum, gather synergy, build defense, and of course, attempt to score goals. On your turn, you choose 2 actions, a team action and a player action. A team action lets you choose between passing and pressing. When you pass, you look for full green symbols that you've made on the board and you draw a synergy card for each one. These are the backbone of the game. They will help your defense. They're going to help your offense. They are going to help you do everything fun in this game. Pressing sends you to the opposite side of the board as you begin using this control marker to try and push it closer to your enemy, pushing them further and further away from their best offensive choices. The farther you push the control marker will give you more potential power at the shots on your opponent's goal. Just like the draft, you are met with excellent decisions. Here, you cannot find yourself specializing as you need both control and synergy to tread water in this game. So each round you have to ask yourself, which is more important? My hand of cards is really low, but my opponent is gaining ground on me, and I don't know if I can afford to wait. Then there's the player actions. You can either build up or direct attack. More often than not, you'll find yourself with building up. To build up, here you're going to choose one of your 10 players and put them somewhere on your side of the board. The color of the card can only be placed in the rows adjacent to lines of the matching colors. And this is a perfect time to discuss the types of players you have to work with. Defenders are close to the back. They represent your defense. Their unique aspect is that they have the blue defense icons. You'll need to try to stop your opponents. They don't feel as exciting as their offensive counterparts, but they are absolutely vital to having any sort of defense. Midfielders are the centerpiece of the team, usually slathered in green and red icons. They are glue that you'll absolutely need to put all around your field to try and solidify as many of these icons as you can. Finding the perfect placement of your midfielders to ensure you'll always draw a handful of synergy cards or push the control marker far down the opponent's throat really gives you a sense of accomplishment. But all the synergy and all the control in the world means nothing. Nothing if you don't have any way to shoot the dang ball. Enter the forward. They have a clear purpose, as they will have halves of soccer balls, and completing the other half will earn players stronger and stronger shots on the opponent's goal. The front line is littered with these symbols, so I hear you saying, why not just go right ahead? Why not just slap one right on the front lines and get to kicking? Well, they thought of that. And, you can't get a forward to the front lines without an adjacent player in the back rows touching it. It's kind of a fiddly rule, but with no I in team, this keeps the game's pace and balancing at the beginning a little better. Unless you forgot to read that rule, and half the games you played involve your opponent slapping on an offensive player on the front line for an easy peasy shot because you're bad at teaching games and you're illiterate and can't read rules to save your life. Couldn't be me. If, however, you can resist the urge to play another person onto the field, you can instead go for a direct attack. You'll choose one of your players on the field with at least one ball formed on their card. Cover one of those balls with a fancy little shot token, and begin the real excitement for the game. First, the offense lines up. Check your control to see what color you're on. That color will dictate how many synergy cards you can play. Synergy cards have a power from 1 to 5. On the synergy board, you can play cards from your hand or deck depending on the icon. More control means more cards and more fear instilled in your opponent. The defense will always get 2 synergy cards, either from their hand or from the deck. The offense will then add up their total attack icons with the shooter with their total synergy strength. If it's over 12, they shoot the ball into the stands, absolutely whiffing. If the result is somewhere between 1 and 10, then the defense is going to reveal their synergy cards, and then we compare their strengths. If the defense's numbers are lower, then guess what? If the defense managed a higher number, however, then the shot is blocked. But Stu Teacher, you didn't mention 11. Wow, what a perfect time for you to ask that. If the offense manages to hit exactly 11 strength, then the defense's power is nullified and you score what is called a undergoal.
Super shot!
Yes, no amount of attack power can stop a Wundergoal, except the tackle. If the defense tackles the shooter, no matter if the offense was stronger or even hit 11, the goal is ignored, and instead, we go to penalty kicks. Tensions ramp up further as the offense will choose where on the goal they will kick, and the defense will do their best to fling their goalie in the right direction. It's guesswork, a crapshoot, and a very true to the art of penalty shots. After the shot token is turned over, and that attack icon no longer exists, making that player more tired and less powerful with each kick. It gives a sense of life to these players. They really are just abstract cards, but when you can see how they have to run through the field, they get tired, they run out of gas. And so instead of mindlessly kicking and tapping them for power over and over and over again, you're going to have to think things through. You're going to have to make plans, and you're going to have to aim your shots and time them for just the right time to pull the trigger. If a player is too exhausted or just not helping at all, you can sub them out permanently with one of your substitutions you set up at the beginning. Doing so not only clears the board for new players, but it also will clear off all their tokens, maybe taking some tokens off of other players, giving them just a little bit of respite, a little more gas in the tank. The game is going to continue until the synergy deck runs out. You reset the board, get ready for the second half, rinse and repeat, and after the synergy deck runs out a second time, that's it. That's the gist. The final scoring really helps capture how accurate Magic number 11 is to its real-life counterpart, in that I don't think I've ever scored more than maybe 5 points, 4-ish, averaging on about 2 to 1, 3 to 2, and ties are absolutely possible in this game. In true spirit of soccer, that's a draw. Of course, if you're lucky, maybe you'll play just right and recreate the greatest game of all time, Germany versus Brazil. Ah yes, 2014, Deutschland entering Rio de Janeiro and destroying not their hopes, but also the dreams of the home team and thousands upon thousands of fans who viewed the massacre in front of them. That's what soccer is all about, baby. Of course, maybe you shouldn't do that if you don't want to see your opponent crying for 90 minutes straight. This game is so concise in what it offers. Absolute back and forth gameplay that really feels like a true sport. It does feel a bit odd. The players kind of just stay on your side of the field the whole time. It feels sometimes less like soccer and more like you're building up castle walls while still catapulting shots on the opponent's castle instead. It can be possible for an opponent to slip up and fall flat on their face and get goofed on, but really, for the most part, when both players maintain attention, you'll find this tug of war is this excellent feeling. When your opponent scores, you know you immediately need to pull back and respond quickly, because if you can't, the pace of the game is going to go completely out of your control. This urgency the game insists upon can kind of make you forget that your players are static, unmoving, rarely changing, but instead gives you this incredible feeling of a two-player dueling experience. The punchy pop stylings of Orinjong really carried this game far. You can't really get lost with the bold, clear colors, making the board incredibly easy to navigate. It also has incredible table presence. It definitely makes you feel like this is something luxurious, despite no metal pieces or plastic miniatures. And in 2024, that is an accomplishment. The art here really helps not only maintain the theme, but also makes the game incredibly clear. Green icon to the green card. Arrow icon pushes the piece with arrows on it. Some players have special powers, and while you'll find yourself referring back to the book to make sure, you often don't need to have a degree in soccermonics to guess what each one does. Amongst all this praise, it isn't without its noticeable flaws. As mentioned before, it does feel closer to some sort of battleship-esque game with your team permanently fixed to one side of the board. For as close to the soccer experience as it gets, the stationary players just feel off. Not necessarily bad, but off. Also, I find, unlike many of my favorite two-player games, as simple as this game is, it does offer quite a large opportunity for analysis paralysis. Those moments where you're locked inside your mind, trying to figure out the most optimal best move, trying to see several turns into the future and not make a game-breaking mistake, resulting in this adds space and quiet to an otherwise thrilling game, giving the pace an occasional halt, feeling like a jolt, like some sort of emergency brake on an otherwise exciting roller coaster. The game box labels Magic number 11 at a steady half an hour, though between setup, pauses, the occasional rule check, I've never found this game to be under 45 minutes. And of course, with any game about laying cards to align them just right, it can be far, far too easy to bump something or accidentally push the cards in too far and just jostle your perfect formations, which maybe is thematic, as you're then open to swearing like you're some sort of real soccer fan. So, does Magic number 11 capture the spirit of soccer? Absolutely. But not necessarily as soccer stars or players. No, I don't feel like Beckham, Son Heung-min, or Ronaldo. No, I also don't feel like I'm the all-star team of Team Shaolin, Germany 2014, or today's DPRK women's team. No, you truly feel like the manager, the coach. You're forming strategies, making tactical decisions mid-game, of course, but you're still on the sidelines. The real magic, though, isn't in any of that. It's in all the stuff in between, the messy stuff. You see, I've never, ever played a game where players didn't have their plans, their grand schemes just fall apart at least one time because they just put a player in the wrong spot, realizing later that not only is it a useless spot, but it just ruins the entire formation they had planned out, leading to many a hands meeting many a palms. Then there's the shots, where you have full control. You've got a basic attack of 2, and you try to keep it reeled in for a goal, and then the deck just hits you with 2 5-star synergy cards, sending the ball into another hemisphere. Or when you're on the defense, you've aligned your back line perfectly. They've got an impenetrable line, only for the deck to hand you one of the only 2 tackle cards in the game, taking your surefire block and turning it into a game of chance with penalty kicks. This is the actual magic of Magic number 11. How the game feels so human. Because no matter how smart and deliberate you instruct your star players, there's a good chance they're just gonna fall right on their behind. You can only do so much and hedge your bets as best as you can. You still have to rely on them to finish it. When it all comes together, you feel like you've led one of history's greatest teams. And those times when you're decimated, you feel like taking away their apple slices and juice boxes.
Okay, team, let's see what you're made of. Just kick it. Kick it hard. Kick it. Okay.
I have to apologize. This video is late. Like, really late. This was supposed to come out during Eschenspiel, and it is now... It's very late because this is actually my second time filming it. I had some thoughts about the game. I don't have any more. I originally thought that the game's theme was a tad too strong for non-soccer fans who would not find the game appealing. Other reviewers said the opposite, and I was excited to have my contrarian opinion locked and loaded. But the more I discussed the game with friends, the more I found how appealing the game was to non-soccer enthusiasts. Whether it was the clearly tight gameplay or the attractive aesthetics, I'm thrilled to eat my own words and say that this game is definitely for general board game enthusiasts and folks who just want to play a snappy 2-player game. I really can't get enough of Magic number 11, and while I believe my 2-player shelf is very elite, saving space for only the best in that category, this game deserves a spot amongst the best. So that's about all the sports ball I can handle. Catch me next time in the penalty box, trying for a hat trick as I get a second down on my way to score through the second lap, and I go...
Ronaldinho success!